Yeah. Good afternoon.
Questions? We'll start with question. Gia. Yes.
I just had a question on gratitude and like effective ways to practice gratitude.
Now we must understand two things over here. One is I'm thankful for something which has come from outside. It could be something material. It doesn't have to be material. Somebody may have praised me, but it has come from outside, and I'm thankful for it. And the other is thankfulness is my inner state. So then it is irrelevant what comes from outside, whether it is good, bad, whether somebody acknowledges me or does not acknowledge me. Then I live in a state of thankfulness. And the idea is that we start from the outside and slowly come to a state of inner thankfulness. And this could take a long time, a lot of practice. So, can we create an attitude of thankfulness in the small things in life? Things sometimes which could not be very important, right? Supposing the taste of an apple is very good, can we just be thankful for it? Supposing, now, some of the places it's in relation to money, in the sense that if he owes me 10 rupees and gives me 5 rupees, then do I still say that he owes me 5 rupees, or do I feel that I'm thankful that he has given me 5 rupees? Right? So if we understand this, then we know that how we can slowly move to a state of thankfulness, and we can live that state of thankfulness. In the outside world, he gives me something and then I say thank you. In the spiritual world, I say thank you first and then I get something. And here is the whole, what you call, kind of contradiction. Now, there is always something higher which wants to grace me with something. But the idea is that unless I'm not in a state of thankfulness, there cannot be a communication. It's not possible. Now, we cannot be in a state of thankfulness as long as we want for anything in life. If I still want him to return my 10 rupees, then I can never be in a state of thankfulness. If I still want my daughter to pass the exam, then I can never be in a state of thankfulness. As long as there is desire, desire that something should happen tomorrow, which can make me happy, then thankfulness is not possible. Thankfulness and happiness go together. And if we observe properly, all our happiness is dependent on something happening outside. So somebody treats me well, I'm happy. If somebody does not treat me well, I'm unhappy. My daughter does well in the exam, I'm happy. My daughter does not do well in the exam, I'm unhappy. And this goes for all relationships. I buy a new car, I'm happy. But then I see that somebody else's car is better than mine, I'm unhappy. Right? So this happiness and unhappiness, it is related to gratitude. And we have to reach a state where happiness is not dependent on anything happening outside. As long as happiness is dependent upon something happening, I get a new car, I'm happy. I get a new house, I'm happy. There's a new movie in town, I am happy. Right? As long as we are dependent on something happening and us being happy, it is not real happiness, it is slavery. And we live our whole lives in slavery because it is always dependent upon something happening. Why are you sad today? My boyfriend did not come to meet me. Right? Why are you sad today? I tried to buy a movie ticket, but the show was full. Can you understand? So we are always dependent upon something. Then we'll never in our lives find the real source of happiness. And the real source of happiness is only in the soul inside, only in the spirit inside. Even the happiness which we get momentarily in buying a new car, or maybe in buying a new shirt, that momentary happiness which we feel we have got because of the shirt, because we feel we have got because of the car, is actually, it is a gift from the spirit inside, but we don't realize it. And we keep on searching for happiness our whole lives. We keep on searching for comfort our whole lives. And no one has ever found it. The only people who have found it have found that happiness which is not dependent on anything, then it is continuous, it never stops. Then if I'm living in a one-room apartment, I'm happy. If I'm living in a bungalow, I'm happy. If I go in an ordinary Maruti car, I'm happy. And if I go in a better car, I'm happy. Then that happiness cannot be disturbed by outer circumstances. And that the byproduct of that happiness is gratitude. Gratitude. To live in a state of gratitude. And when there is gratitude, when the fountain of gratitude has started flowing inside, then the waterfall of grace starts and meets that fountain. Grace is there. There is always God all around us which wants to give us. But the law is that you be thankful first, then I will give. And we cannot be thankful. We are always asking. We are always asking. Each moment we are asking for happiness. You have come here to sit, but deep down you are asking that from here you will go happy. You go from here to Baroda, you'll sit in the car, deep down in your subconscious mind, you're asking that the trip should be okay, there should be no puncture on the way. You are going to get married. Deep down, you're asking, this marriage has to bring happiness, as if any marriage only brought happiness. Right? And the law of this universe is that everything comes, but it comes in pairs. It cannot come on its own. This is the law. When God made the universe, the first law he made was everything in pairs. Dvait, it's called. The Vedantists call it as Dvait. You ask for happiness, you get sadness also. You cannot take one. It is not possible to take one. But we go to the temple, we ask for happiness, and God is smiling inside. Okay, I'll give you happiness, but you've forgotten the rule that with happiness I have to give you. And then we cry, Arey, I went to the temple, I did this, I did that, and this, all this suffering came in. But you only asked for it. When you are asking for happiness, you are asking for suffering at the same time. It is inbuilt in that. And this we don't realize. And we keep on asking. And there's no one inside to observe that. Why are we asking? Why are we not satisfied with what is? And because we only can see so much with our eyes, the senses are limited to seeing in a certain spectrum. And we cannot see beyond that spectrum. To see beyond that spectrum, we have to rise in consciousness. So, the first thing is to observe the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind has desires which are like alligators. The nose is outside the water, the rest is in the water. And we don't realize that we are asking. Asking all the time. Asking for our children's happiness. And this extends further. Somebody may fall ill. And we may feel we are praying for his happiness. He should get better. But why are we praying? What is the motive behind praying? And if we go deep down, we will see it has happened to him. It should not happen to me. And in that very not happening to me, we have connected with that. Now, something is going to come to meet us. And we don't realize this. And we keep on asking and asking. And we don't stop. If we can pause. And in that moment, who is this who is asking inside? Is there a way of looking at him? Is there a way of being free of him? And in that moment, we touch the real happiness inside. It's always there. There's never been a moment when it's not there. We've always been happy. Only we have to lift the curtain a little inside. And then there's eternal happiness inside. The fountain of happiness. And the fountain of happiness is the fountain of gratitude. I spent 7 years with Swami Ramdula about it. One of the most beautiful things about him was his relationship to money. Such a beautiful relationship. When he would take a 1 rupee note in his hand, it would be with so much of worship. And there would be exactly no difference between him looking at a 1 rupee note or a 100 rupee note. It would be the same inner worship inside. Worship does not mean greed. Worship does not mean miserliness. Worship is a right attitude towards money. Can we create a right attitude towards money? Then in that there is happiness. But we rape money. When I say this is my money, that moment I have raped money. And money is the wife of Lakshmi. We are raping his wife. She doesn't like to be possessed. She hates being possessed. But I say, it's my money, it's in the bank. Right? You better give my money back. And we don't realize that all money, everything we use, all the material possessions, they all come from some higher central bank. We enjoy them for some time. I'm not saying don't enjoy them thoroughly. Don't possess them. Right? And many times the person who possesses can never enjoy. When we were building this ashram in the initial stages, and I was talking to Bhagwan about this ashram, and it was on whose name will this ashram come, and what will happen, and etc., and etc., and who is the legal owner, and all that kind of thing was coming up. And Bhagwan said, do you know how many ashrams are empty on the bank of the Narmada? So many people have built ashrams, they are just empty. All the rooms are empty. People, they built it, they possessed them, they never enjoyed them. He says, I have come here to this ashram. I don't possess this ashram, I enjoy this ashram. And there's a difference between enjoyment and possessing. The ego possesses, but when we enjoy something, we are giving it to the soul inside. And these things go together, gratitude, enjoyment, happiness. But they, what you call, get spoiled by possessiveness. So, what is our attitude towards money? Can we create a right attitude towards money? That doesn't mean I waste money, I start throwing it all over the place. No. She's a girl and she likes to be treated well. I have to treat her properly. And if I can learn to treat my money properly, then slowly I'll develop a right attitude towards life. Many times people come to meet me and they talk about their, experiences in meditation and this. And I immediately try to question them and ask them, what is their relationship to money? I don't tell them directly. Say, what are you doing in life and what are you doing here and etc. And if I find a balanced attitude to money, then I know the meditational experience is real. Otherwise, it's all imaginary. Right? So, work on your attitude towards money. Right? It's wonderful to live in a state of gratitude. It's the most beautiful thing that can happen, to be thankful in life. But the meaning of being thankful in life is not to complain about something, not to find fault with something, not to say I've not been given enough. Right? You have not looked after me properly. I looked after you so well. Right? These are all offshoots of the self-love of the ego, internal considering. I came to your home, you didn't treat me well. When you came to my home, I treated you so well. God doesn't know how to account, but man is a very beautiful accountant. Loves to account. And as long as we are accounting, we can never be happy. We can never be happy. It is only when energy is overflowing that is happiness. It is only when the river is in flood that electricity is produced. And then life is a joy. Whatever comes is a joy. So, rather than looking for happiness, rather than looking for gratitude, Try to find where I'm finding fault with what I have now. Try to find that those inner eyes which are finding fault. Try to relate to 1 rupee with gratitude with the same way you would relate to 1,000 rupees with gratitude. Right? And if we can relate to 1 rupee with gratitude, every 1 rupee I get, there's gratitude. Every 1 rupee I get, there's gratitude. Right? Then slowly that inner state of gratitude will develop. Then there is nothing in life which is insufficient. Life is overflowing all the time. Life wants to give us, but as long as we ask like beggars, life cannot give us. You have to ask in the right way. And to ask in the right way is to say, I'm already happy with what I have. What more can you give me? Right? And when we say, what more can you give me? It says, I can still give you more. It is already overflowing. Right? So practice with money. Money is the best practice in life. Right? And even if you get 1 rupee to spend, be happy. Right? Don't say the ice cream costs 10 rupees. Right? Have a chocolate or toffee instead, right? And develop gratitude. Develop gratitude. Right?
Okay, now we have a question from Manik.
Manik is asking so many questions. Huh?
This is all the product of one flight from Delhi to Ahmedabad. Combining the work of two schools on the spiritual journey. Is this helpful or not?
You want to say which two schools? You know, for a number of years I was with Osho. Then for a number of years I was with Vimlaji. 7 years I was with Ram Dulare Bapu. All these years from 1974 to 2021 with Brahmvedanji. And then I met Mr. Thawaria. So it's within us. We can contradict also and we can complement also. Right? At a certain higher state, there are no contradictions. But when we are using the logical mind always divides. There is always yes and no. There's always good and bad. But at a little higher state, we don't know what is yes and what is no, because yes is also there and no is also there. Can you understand? The murderer is also there and the saint is also there. Both come out of that one wholeness. And there everything starts dissolving. Right? So then all contradictions dissolve. There's no contradiction. Right? Now people come to me and they say, Gurdjieff said not to do breath work. So I know they're talking from their lower mind. They can't see further than their nose. Can you understand? But take what Gurdjieff has, take what Thawaria-ji is saying about breathing and go beyond. Go beyond. But if you get stuck in contradictions, then better to stay in one school. Right? But if you can complement, then experience as much as you can, because it brings the richness of life. Can you get it? After Thawaria-ji left the body, I was sitting one day with Vimla-ji, and she was telling me that, see, when you speak, of course, Thawaria-ji has given it to you, so you will let it flow, what he has told you. But you have been with Osho also, so a little bit of that will also come. A little bit of Ram Dulare Bapu will also come. A little bit of Bhagwan will also come. Right? And of course, Tawariya ji is there. But it's a little bit of Vimla ji will also come. Can you see? Can you see she's telling me that in you so many streams are meeting together. Right? So if it's what do you call, if it stagnates our journey, then stick to one school. The problem in sticking to one school is that instead of dissolving the ego, we create a new ego about the school. So you meet people, they will be talking about their teacher and their school and how good their teacher is. They don't realize they are talking of their own ego. There's nothing to do with their teacher. Nothing to do about their guru. Right? So if it works for you, then very good. Why 2 schools, 3, 4, whatever, if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, see, life is short. 70 years is not even a, what do you call, a drop in the cosmic time. And how richly can we live those 70 years? Right? The richness of those 70 years. See, something I get from my guru, Mr. Tawariya, and I stick to that only. After some time, it's going to become stale. It's going to become dead. But if I enrich it in different ways, then it remains alive. I don't, what do you call, destroy the original teaching. Can you get it? I don't, what do you call, stray away from the original teaching, but I enrich it in different ways. I try to bring it down to the normal line because it's very difficult to understand what he has written. And he had no, what do you call, understanding of comma, full stops, or where a sentence starts and where to put a capital letter. Everything just goes on. And sometimes there is no continuity between one paragraph and the next paragraph. One paragraph is here, and next is flying in the air over there. Right? So sometimes I feel a kind of responsibility that unless somebody, what do you call, puts this into a little bit of ordinary language, how many people are going to grasp it? How many people are going to grasp it? So, and when you want to put things in ordinary language, in really down to earth language, then this richness of so many schools, it helps you. It helps you. Right? It's sort of this, but it should not stop your progress. It should give impetus to your progress, and it should increase the richness of life, the richness of life. And there's no problem. Right? But see that it doesn't create an ego. See that it doesn't lead to comparison, that this master is better than this master. And the lower mind compares. Right? And as long as we are always comparing, we are always in the lower mind. To move from the lower thinking to the higher thinking, we have to drop comparison. But today, every thought we have is made out of comparison and memory and comparison and memory and comparison. And that's the small, tiny world we live in. Right? The other day I was writing a few notes on what is the magnetic center. Right now, Gurdjieff calls it the magnetic center. Tawariya Sahib calls it the magnetic point. Somebody else calls it the body Kesjan, because Gurdjieff again in what do you call Beelzebub tales, he's called it the Kesjan body. What anybody understands by his meaning of Kesjan, we don't know. But everybody has talked about it. And they've talked about it in different ways. Right? Now, Mr. Gold is talking about it from one point of view. Gurdjieff and Beelzebub has talked about it in one point of view. Maurice Nicol has talked about it in a very down-to-earth point of view. And then all of them have not given one point of view, which is the astrological point of view, which Tawariaji has talked about. And you see, suddenly the understanding of the magnetic center, it enriches you from all these schools. Can you understand? Right? So, there's absolutely no harm if it is complementary. But if it is contradictory, then wait for some time. I remember 1 year we were not supposed to listen to anyone else's lectures. We were not supposed to read anyone else's books. And we were not supposed to do anyone else's practice. And we had to hold on to that for 1 year. 1 year was the thing that you pass through this 1 year where you only do what Mr. Tavaria tells you to do. Right? And if you've passed through that 1 year, then you're ready. Then you see beyond the contradictions. You see beyond the differences. Right? Then there is no comparison. Truth is a big painting. Every master comes and throws his color in the painting. Nobody owns the painting. If somebody says, my master owns the painting, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Nobody owns the painting. Can you understand? Raman Maharishi comes, he throws his colors. Right? Arvind comes, he throws his colors. Right? Krishnamurti comes, he throws his colors. Osho comes, he throws his colors. Right? And the painting gets enriched with every color that comes in. Right? With every shade that comes in, that whole picture of truth gets more and more enriched. Can you get it? Tavaria side comes, he throws his colors. And maybe his small disciple throws 1 or 2 colors. It happens this way. And the painting is a continuous process. Right? In the days of Patanjali, he threw his colors. But he says, no, Patanjali is right, everybody else is wrong. That's not possible. It's not possible. Okay. Bolo.
Okay, this one is from Ayush from Surat. He says that he's talking about events in life when he's putting directed attention into something, say studying. Then there is an external disturbance that comes and he gets irritated and angry at that. Now at the same time, he realizes that because he's been practicing that getting irritated and angry is wrong. And then this, once he gets that, he slips in, then he sort of regrets it the very next moment and sort of slips into the cycle of, regret and guilt. So what should he do?
First of all, he is not practicing self-observation. Right? He's getting identified with situations. Right? Now, it's very automatic that whenever I use directed attention, right, disturbances are going to come. That is the law of the game. The law of the game. It cannot be otherwise. You see, our ego feels that it can go to some ashram somewhere on top of a hill somewhere and remain in silence and do everything and there'll be no disturbance. The biggest nonsense. Right? If that could be possible. Right? So wherever we are directing attention, expect disturbances to come. It has to, it's the law of the game. Right? The second thing is that we understand the working of the centers. And it is the instinctive center which looks after the energy of the body-brain system. And the instinctive center is a miser. It doesn't like to spend energy. It doesn't like to spend money. So it is not in favor of any activity of ours which is not connected to the body. If it feels that by doing this exercise, the body will get some energy, it will give you the energy to do that exercise. But if the instinctive center feels that by doing this exercise, I'm not going to get energy, it'll cut off the energy. We'll do 1, 2 like this, and then we say, forget it, sit down. The instinctive center will not give you the energy. It is, you have to get the energy from the instinctive center. And it hates people who use the intellectual center. It hates people who use the intellectual center, right? And we sit down to study. The intellectual center, we sit down to study. And the instinctive center sees that this guy is wasting energy. He's not supposed to be studying, right? It's a waste of energy. I need this energy. I'm not going to give him this money to use, right? So after 5, 10 minutes of studying, I'll start yawning. And I don't realize that I'm not sleepy. I'm definitely not sleepy, but the instinctive center is disturbing my use of energy. It has sent me sleepiness so that I stop studying. Can you understand this? And this happens to everybody, right? It happens to everybody. So when we understand the working of the centers, we understand that the centers, all the centers are controlled by the instinctive center. The money flow, the what you call tijori, what they call, is controlled by the instinctive center, and it does not like to waste money, right? So you have to cheat it out of money, right? So you have to say inside that I'm going to sit for 40 minutes. If I feel sleepy, I'm going to sit. If I want to have tea, I'll have after 40 minutes. Can you understand? So there will be that small period where I'll be yawning a little. And if I get over that period, the instinctive center will give me free flow of energy and I'll be able to study properly for 40 minutes. But I have to get over that. Science calls this the second wind phenomenon, right? The second wind phenomenon, right? So whenever we are using directed attention, the instinctive center will always intervene. It always intervenes. And this is the law of the game. And we have to get over that. And that is why whenever I sit down, my first rule is no getting up for 40 minutes. Let that guy, the instinctive center, say what it wants. Right? I'm not going to get up for 40 minutes. So for 40 minutes, you keep writing. Then I get up to make my tea. So when we are using directed attention, I hope all of you all are spending some time in directed attention. Thank you. So, some time in directed attention every day. It's so important, so important. So disturbances will come. Then we get identified by the disturbance. What is the second part of the question?
I end up getting irritated and angry.
He gets irritated and angry, and then he gets identified with the irritation and anger.
And then he realizes that he's doing something
And then
wrong.
there is guilt.
And guilt. Yes.
There's guilt. Now, this is a beautiful observation. Where there is guilt, guilt is one of the lowest negative emotions. A man cannot go lower than guilt, he goes into self-pity. Right? That is the lowest, self-pity. Right? A little above that is guilt. And guilt is very difficult to observe because it is one event comprised of two events, made out of two events. And that is why guilt is difficult to observe. Because we think it is two separate events. And actually it is one event. Now, supposing there's a husband and wife, and the husband has a habit of drinking, right? Or he may have a habit of gambling. So he will gamble. Then the wife will scold him. Then he'll feel guilt. Right? In that guilt, he'll promise his wife, I will never do this again. Right? This will never happen again. Right? And that guilt will take him to one end of the pendulum. Already at one end, the swing has started to go to the other, and he doesn't see that. And then tomorrow he'll go and gamble again. Right? Again he'll gamble again. Again the wife will catch him. I caught you gambling. Right? And he'll say, oh, I'm very sorry. This is definitely the last time. Don't, and this is, I'm not talking only of gambling, please understand. It could be drinking, it could be anything, it could be womanizing, it could be anything, right? Don't just stick with just gambling, right? Now, again, you'll go and do it. So promise I'll never do it again. This is my final promise, right? And again, he'll go and do the same thing again. And guilt will come. And he doesn't realize that these two events is one single event. It is one event that I hurt him, I come home, I feel guilty, I promise myself I will never hurt anyone again tomorrow, and I go tomorrow and I hurt her. Again I come home, I feel guilty, I promise myself I'll never do this again. Day after I go and I hurt somebody else. And this cycle goes on and on. And unless he sees these two events as actually one event, that the guilt is creating energy for him to doing it, again, the guilt is giving an impression that I purified myself by saying, oh, I am at fault, self-pity and guilt go together. I am at fault. It is my fault, this, that, everything. And then he goes and does it again. It just gives you the energy to do it again. And I'm sure all of you have observed this in so many instances in life. It goes on and on. So the idea is to have a holistic view, a kind of expanded consciousness view of the situation, where he sees himself doing this in a cycle. And when he sees himself doing this in a cycle, he's observing that the same cycle is repeating. See, it's the same thing on a small scale, whether it is on a large scale, everything. Right? We are born, the soul experiences life. The soul says, okay, I've come to life to rise in consciousness. By 5 years old, the ego comes up, gives 2 slaps to the soul, gives him a peg of whiskey, puts him into the bar to go to sleep. Now the ego is there. Who is interested in consciousness? I want to earn money. I want to be famous. I want to do this. I want to control people. I'll become the minister of the country or something of that sort, right? And the ego lives life to the end. At the moment of death, the ego realizes he can't do anything about death. The soul gets up from the bar and the soul gets up. I've been sleeping all this time. What happened? Did I gather consciousness? No. Okay, then we repeat the cycle again. So he'll come back in another life. And the cycle keeps on repeating. Right? The same thing on a small scale. I hurt him, come home, right? Feel guilty. Now I'm ready to hurt somebody else, and the cycle keeps on repeating. And this has to be observed. This has to be observed. This cannot be swept away. There is no broom. You cannot go to some class of where they teach you the subconscious mind and unconscious mind and how to get rid of this and how to get rid of anger. It's a load of nonsense. Only thing which will help you is to look at it from far away. When you look at it and you observe the repetition, and over a time, the very looking, makes the momentum go down, and at one point you're free of it. See, all this mechanical repetition is nothing but darkness, and looking is light. Looking is light. So when you throw light upon it, and that moment you're free from it. So tell him to have an expanded view. not to get identified with what is happening, and try to see it from far. Try to see how many times he has repeated it yesterday, day before. Put all those repetitions together, look at them all together, and in that moment, there'll be some understanding, some freedom from that. Right? Okay.
Okay. Now this is one from Hema. Yeah. And this came from the drift watching or self-observation session in the afternoon. I'll just quote her. Day before yesterday, we did the drift watching exercise, and a thought came and stayed. And the thought said, what people think or say about me. Then
What people think
or say about me. What,
say about.
yeah, what will people say or what will people think about me? Then when we were doing it further, right, we were just asked in the next round to hold a particular thought and think about it. And so the first thing that came up was need for love. Need for love was more in childhood, but was not met due to various reasons. So to get or receive love, you have to be good, behave nicely, don't show emotions. This is how the world functions. And this has led to the need for validation.
Now we have to understand one basic law. One basic law. The ego grows through other people's attention. The soul grows through our own attention. Right? As long as I want him to give me love or attention, who is asking? Ego is asking. But my soul does not want his attention. My soul wants my attention to go in and look upon the soul. Can you understand? But my attention is stuck outside. How many people know me? What she's saying. Right? What other people think about me. Right? Who has more money than me? Who is better than me? Of course, there should be nobody better than me. Right? So my attention is stuck outside. It is stuck on physical things, my material things, my bank balance, my car, my house. It is stuck on what do you call subtle relationships, my wife, my husband, my daughter, my son, this must listen to me, my son, why doesn't he listen to me? Right? And then it is stuck on thoughts also. I am an Indian and I live in India, and India is a country, as if God came to make any country. Right? And it is stuck. Now, all this attention being stuck everywhere. Stuck everywhere now, and I feel like a beggar inside. Right? And how do I fill this vacuum inside? By other people. Right? He knows me. He always praises me whenever he meets me. Right? So much his attention. Right? And of course, now the new thing is, how many friends do you have on Facebook? Right? How much of others' attention am I getting? Other people's attention am I getting? You see, nothing changes. Truth does not change. Truth does not change, but the validity of words change. The validity of the words which express that truth changes. In the old days, this my attention getting stuck outside, bhu aswa, or material relationships, thoughts, right? Bhu aswa, that would be called as mamta, right? And I asking for other people's attention is called ahanta, right? So the Guru would ask, "Bhai, mamta ne ahanta mati mukta thao." What is mamta? What is ahanta? Now, see those old words, then they lose their meaning. The truth does not change. The truth can never change. So then Gurdjieff gives new words. Right? Gurdjieff gives new words, and now we understand because of the new words. Now we understand the old words also because of the new words. Can you get what? So we have to understand that the ego is always asking for other people's attention. The soul always wants our attention. So take your attention from your belongings, put it on your soul. We have done this game so many times, husband, wife, son. So take your attention from your family, from your friends, and put it on your soul. Right? Take your attention from your thoughts. I am an Indian and I am a Brahmin and I am this and right, I'm a Banya, whatever, and put it on your soul. Now, then people misunderstood this. Instead of taking away attention, why not leave the wife and children? You don't have to leave the wife and children. You have to, the attention which is attached to them. Right. And when you take attachment back inside, you bring love remains. Love, nothing happens to love. Can you understand? But there was this old idea that na rahe baas na baje basuri, right? So if the car is taking get rid of the car. Get rid of the bank balance. It's a beautiful story, and Osho used to repeat this. Osho was a grand storyteller, one of the best, right? And Sita's father, Janak, he was an enlightened person. And he used to, gather people in his palace. Ashtavakra came to his palace, Yagnavalkya came to his palace. And he used to enjoy discussions on the truth, enrichment. Not just with that small one-angled look at the truth. From all sides, he would enjoy discussions on the truth. So one day, one great guru he called, and there was a river nearby. So early in the morning, they went to the river to have a bath. And they are having a bath in the river, and Janak looks at his palace is burning. So he looks at the palace is burning and he's laughing. My palace is burning. But that sadhu was with him, that great Jnani who had come to give him lectures on the truth. He was running to the palace. So Janak shouted, "Why are you running?" He said, "My langot is inside." So it is by leaving the palace, right, the langot remains. And this is the story of our country. You go to all the ashrams in our country, the langot has become the palace now. The ashram has become the palace. Such a mess. Such a mess. Right. So the idea is that the ego grows on other people's attention. The soul can only grow on our own attention. My soul can never grow if my friends increase on Facebook. It is not possible. It's not possible. Can you get what? Or if I become a minister of the country or whatever. Now, in the growth of the ego, which happens from the time the child is born, right, till about 5 years. Around 5 years, the ego gets crystallized. All our habits, all our attitudes, everything gets crystallized around 5 years. It's obvious now what we are going to do with the rest of our life, right? Between 5 and 7 years. Now, there is right growth of ego and wrong growth of ego. Now, between 0 to 5, 0 to 7, there must be right growth of ego. And that right growth of ego only happens if the parents give proper right attention to the child. But if at that time, when there should be right growth of the ego, the parents are not available, right? And if the nurse is giving attention, then things get upset over there. Then that ego is going to seek love throughout his or her life. Can you see? He'll always feel the inadequacy of love. And the inadequacy of love is nothing but the inadequacy that I'm not joined to the Atma. But that is so difficult to tell anyone. Can you get it? But so this is very important. When a child is born, do the parents give, and I won't use the word love, we'll take out the word love. Do they give proper right attention to the child from 0 to 7? 0 to 7. And this is very, very important. Very, very important. If in that 0 to 7, they have hugged the child, they have touched the child, they've given love to the child, and love, in that the instinctive center is active. It has to be touch. Love is not giving him 101 toys. Can you understand? Love is not giving 101 toys. The love is expressed in the touch, in the feeling, in the songs you sing, in the stories you tell. Then there is, by 7, there is right growth of ego. Then this person won't feel in his whole life the inadequacy of love. Right? He will not feel that he has not been loved. Can you see? Because that much of feeding has to be done. And unless there is a right ego, there is a positive ego, unless there is a complementary ego, how are you going to walk on the spiritual path? Can you see? Now I have not had love from 0 to 7. Now my whole life I'll be filling that emptiness with things, with relationships with so many women, right? Gambling. And gambling is a big, what do you call, perversion of the sex center. Gambling, smoking, maybe I can fill that emptiness by smoking, right? And or maybe I can fill that emptiness, by showing what a great guy I am. I'll talk to him rudely, I'll talk to you rudely, right? And rudeness comes in. And it is nothing but that, right? The ego is not developed properly. So the ego needs other people's attention to develop. And all children, they must have right ego development from 0 to 7. 0 to 7. And if that is not given properly at that time, then that child is going to feel that inadequacy of love, right? Now, that has already happened. Right? I cannot go back to when I was 0 and say, okay, now my parents should love me or anything. It's not possible. Right? So it's already happened. Now what do I do? So now I understand that I have to observe this ego. That is called self-observation, observation of the false personality. And it is only through observation that I'm able to heal that part. And that is why when Mr. Tavaria translated the Yoga Sutras, one of the yoga is healing of the psychic nature and calming of the thinking instrument. Where yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha, how did you translate it into this thing? Right? You made a mess of it. But no, he saw that exactly what had to be done. He was not bothered about the literal translation. What has to be done at that stage? And unless that ego is healed, so before there can be regeneration, rise in consciousness, which is a process of regeneration, there must be a long process of healing. Some people don't need to be healed because they've got the right attention from that 0 to 7. But if I've not got the right attention, then we, together with our practices for consciousness, we follow a process of healing. And that healing is we understand those eyes within us, those small eyes within us who feel inadequate, who feel they have been left out. Now, maybe I don't know if you remember when we were in the fifth standard, sixth standards, some guys they got and went and had a picnic and they left us out. So there's that feeling of being left out, right? So there's those eyes within us which are left out. Nothing you can do about them, but just the very understanding, the very observation of them, the very throwing of the light of attention upon them over a process of time, the healing happens. And when the healing happens, then spirituality, you can rise in spirituality properly. But if there is no healing, then we may do all kinds of stupid things in spirituality. You see people, they want to do all kinds of perverted techniques. They will stand on one foot and they'll do all kinds of things and they'll awaken the Kundalini by God knows what many means, right? All perverted techniques they're doing. And they call it Gaur Sadhana. Gaur Sadhana. The Aghori Panth. Somebody has, Gora, he's written a book on the Aghori Panth. But these are people who have not got proper attention in that 0 to 7. So many of you are young, so I hope you understand this. Tomorrow you will have children, right? And when you have children, then 0 to 7, sacrifice everything for the child, right? You see, a child is not your child. It is somebody else's amanat. Somebody else, it has come through you. The child has chosen you because it needs your DNA to have a physical body. The soul has chosen you, right? And the child is coming through you. So, and the meaning, you don't become parents when you have the child. You become a parent 1 year before when you decide to have the child. And there you decide now you will sacrifice your own happiness for the growth of the child. It is a sacrifice. Actually, it is nearly a 20-year sacrifice, but the first 7 years are most important. First 7 years. And that is not 7 years of growth of the soul, 7 years of growth of the ego. And then people come to me and they say, we want to put our child in some special education where the ego does not grow. I put him in the ordinary school here. Why are you doing all these nonsensical things? But our ego loves complications. It loves to do complicated things. Just let an ordinary growth, give him proper attention, give him proper love. And then by 7 years, the ego is crystallized. And that ego now does not feel that it has not been loved, right? That ego does not feel that it has not got proper attention. Then at the right time, that ego will realize that there is something more to life. There is a deeper mystery in life. It is not just having a job and getting a good salary, marrying and having children. There is a mystery behind life. And can I understand that mystery? And when he goes to understand that mystery, there is no, that feeling of incompleteness is not there, right? He goes to understand. There's many questions on fear, which I'm going to take tomorrow morning. I think the last session is tomorrow morning. But please understand this, that if those 7 years the parents have, done what has to be done for the child, will the child feel fear in life? He won't feel fear in life. Can you understand? Fear comes out of a feeling that you don't have something, of inadequacy inside. I run a clinic, so I give homeopathic medicines on Sundays, and I've been doing this for the last 25, 30 years. So, and I'm shocked at the amount of sexual problems. And I realized that if that child had been loved until the age of 7, there can never be any sexual problems. But so much of perversion has come in sex. So much of vikruti, perversion has come in sex. Why has it come in sex? Those 7 years, the right growth of the ego was not done. And we have no right to hit the child. That's the end of the matter. Right? It's one of the worst karmas we can do is to hit the child. Right? We have to treat the child as if it has come from God and he has given us something to look after. We are only trustees of the child, and we bring up the child in that 7 years with the perfect attention, right attention. So then he does not, then he won't feel frightened. He won't feel frightened of darkness. He won't feel frightened of tomorrow. Where there's the energy of love inside, there can never be fear. Fear and love cannot go together. If there is love, there cannot be fear. But now there is a new fear, fear of love. I don't want to get into a relationship. Supposing this happens, people, they are frightened of falling in love also. Fear of love. This is the state of affairs we have created for ourselves. Right. So many of you are young. Please understand and give right attention to the child. Right attention to the child. Don't fill the child with toys. Remember what Krishna said in the Gita to Arjun. I will do what is good for you. I will not do what to please you. All those who have come to fight for Duryodhana have come to please Duryodhana. હું તારા શ્રેયમાં કરીશ, હું તારા પ્રેમમાં નહીં કરું. Remember those two words, right? And bring up the child on that. This is that. And she has to go through a process of healing. And that healing can only be done through self-observation. You have to identify those eyes within yourself, which are asking for love, which are inadequate, which still want something from life. You look at them over a period of time and you're free of them, right? And it is not something that she has to do. Most of us have to do it. Most of us have to do it. Right? Okay, we'll stop here. I have too many people wanting to meet today, so because tomorrow is the last day. So we'll stop 15 minutes early over here.